Starting to clean.
Hey everyone, our Roborock Q Revo just arrived. We ordered it on Amazon. It's purported as a budget version of the S8 Pro Ultra. It was $8.99 with a $100 off coupon for the black one. And this one is for my sister. I'll be reviewing it before shipping it off to her. I already have an S8 Pro Ultra, which I've already reviewed. So let's get to unboxing the Q Revo. And here's the box within the shipping box, as it would have looked on the store shelf. A summary of the most important features. We'll be going through all of these later. The summary of features displayed again on the other side of the box. This side of the box graphically displays the main features of the unit, and we'll be going through all these features as we conduct our evaluation of the Q Revo today. Contents listed on this side include the unit itself, the dock, the base, a dust bag, there are actually two of them, power cable, mops, and manual. This sheet of cardboard is actually the quick start guide, which we could see exactly how this box will unbox all the various components we'll be using today. Our literature, and this is the bottom tray, a mop head, and a second one. Here's a spare dust bag. The first one should already be in the base. The Q Revo unit itself. Power cord. And finally, the base. The base is unpacked first, removing the packaging material. This sticker added specifically to show how to empty the bag and wash the mop cleaning tray. Now the tray is installed onto the base, simply snapped in as shown. That's the only plastic piece installed onto the base. The power plug is, however, installed in the rear of the unit as shown, pushed in, and then there is a loom for cable management. It could be wrapped around however many times as needed. Once it's wrapped around sufficiently, it could be dressed out either the left side or the right side of the unit as appropriate. We're ready to move into position. Its test position will be right here, just on the other side of the S8 Pro Ultra. So now I'll plug it in, and the red LED indicates power. We won't open the extra dust bag, we'll look at the one already installed in the dock later. All the paperwork came in one clear plastic bag. First is the safety guidelines and certification that reminds you not to do terrible and obviously unsafe things with your vacuum cleaner. It also warns you about the danger of lasers. These are pictorial instructions that also act as a parts reference using an alphanumeric key. This will help guide you through simple tasks and help you perform maintenance on the vacuum cleaner and the base station. Finally, there's also a user's manual included, and believe it or not, I do actually read this cover to cover for my reviews. Now we'll have a look at the Q Revo itself. The top has two buttons, power and home, and the top is a matte finish. Looking at the front of the unit, there are sensors behind this glass, but we can't see them. LiDAR up top, that mount is also a push button sensor. Working our way around, we see some ventilation here along the side. Continuing along to the rear, we'll see the charging posts and sensors covered by glass in the back, as well as this fill port right here. I'll admit that this confused me for a minute. I wasn't sure what was going on here, but I realized it was just a flap that pushes outward. It was just pushed in probably when I removed it from the box. We could see how it pushes outward. That's just fine. Circling our way back to the front, we see this slot for more sensors here. And the entire front of the unit is actually a bumper sensor that we could push in on this side as well as on the other side. We'll lift the top cover now and have a look inside. And here we have the air filter assembly, which we could depress this piece right here and lift up and out from the unit. On the back of the air filter assembly is the air filter. There's also a sticker that tells you how to maintain both the filter and the assembly. There are some moving parts, as we see here on the incoming from the brushes, as well as a spring-loaded piece right here on this side. The filter pops right out for service and washing. It's a standard Roborock filter. It snaps back in, and we can see under the flap the brush from the underside, as well as the button and indicator for the wireless connection, which we'll be doing shortly. So now we'll snap the filter assembly back into the unit. and close the cover. Placing some soft towels on the counter so we could turn the Revo upside down and have a look on the underside. We squeeze these two tabs to remove the cover of the roller, and I noticed that as I did, it pushed down, and I'm able to pull it up. So this must just use weight to lift and lower the roller to match the contours of the carpet and floor. Now with the cover removed, the roller could be lifted right out. It's a single roller, like the S7. Often there's an accumulation of hair on the end of the rollers, especially pet hair. Just holding an end and turning the roller towards you will release the end where the hair can be easily removed. Then placing it back in, turning the roller away from you locks it in. Repeating the same process on the other side accomplishes the same thing. We can see a black end and a gray end. The gray end square will go into the gray end on the right side here, and then dropped in on the other end. We'll reinsert our cover and snap it back down. We see the standard swivel wheel here found on many robot vacuums, as well as the standard corner brush. This is a replaceable item. These areas up front are for where the mop heads insert. Just below the coupler for each mop head is a sprayer for the mop. We zoom in on one, we could see one right here. And we could see that as they fall into their keyed slot, they lock in because they're magnetized. I lift it up and we could see it locks back in. So the magnet does hold it securely into place. When it does come time to wash these pads, the unit can be removed, and then the pads can be removed from their holders, their Velcro, so they come right off. They could go into the wash and cleaned, and then when they're cleaned, they can be placed right back on, centering the middle, just like that. Once it's perfectly centered, it can be pressed back down onto its holder, and then reintroduced onto the unit, locked in. There's a slight and intentional overlap right here between the two mop heads. I definitely recommend some extra mop cloths so you could run some while others are in the wash. Sensors can also be found alongside the perimeter of the under unit, as well as one here by this wheel. The main wheels of this unit are spring-mounted rubber tires. We could see the spring mount right here with very good tread. As directed in the manual, I hold down the power button until the power turns on, but nothing happens. I do several attempts at this, but I see no change. Realizing that the battery may be too low for the power to turn on, I just resort to putting it on the charger. And when I place it on the charger, immediately I can see that the power does turn on as it starts charging. Several seconds later, turning on by itself.
Charging.
Charging light is red until the charging is full sometime later. We can see the status light is still red in the top left. And I like this design with the dust bag on the bottom and the two containers up top instead of all three up top like we have on the S8. Let's have a look. And fingerprints appear everywhere on the black version. I don't recommend touching anything. To remove this cover, I got no choice though. Little sticker in the top right shows you how removing and inserting a bag works. Pulling this tab closes the bag while providing a handle to remove it. Very nice. Standard Roborock bag in rectangular form as we see here, closed as we pulled it out. I'm just going to open it up so we can see what that looks like. I'll reclose it. And yeah, it's a vacuum cleaner bag. So nothing much more to this. It's all inserted back in the slot, and as I insert it, I'll push that tab to open it back up. Pushing the bag back in, I could then close the cover. For the minor inconvenience of the bag on the underside, this is a much narrower base. We'll pull our first container from the top now, the clean water container, and have a look at it. Lifting this tab allows the container to be opened. We lift the cover now, having a look inside. It's like a slightly translucent plastic so you can see the water level through it. Sensors included allow the base station to know when it's empty. There are various hoses here, as well as a watertight silicone gasket that goes around the cover. I'm happy to say that these containers open greater than 90 degrees, a gripe on the S8 Pro Ultra. We have ZeroWater with zero hardness that we use for our Euro coffee machine as well as the Brava. We'll be using it for this machine as well. I want to see exactly how much this container holds, so I'm using a liter pitcher, carefully measuring each one in, 2, 3, and 4 liters in this container. An extra liter over the S8 Pro Ultra. And we see we're at the top because there's an overflow hole right here. But this setup providing an extra liter of fresh water and dirty water is extremely impressive. The OMO, however, is a 1-to-3 ratio, so I have to use like 1 1/3 capful, which I'm not going to try. I'm just going to use a capful, let a little spill. It's not an exact science. We're going to close this up and put it right back in the machine, and notice the status light turned white when we put it in because it cleared the alarm. Now we'll remove the dirty water tank and have a look. This tank is the exact same form as the other tank, except when we look inside, we can see that there's a float for a cutoff when the tank is full, and a couple of other minor changes, obviously, to serve its function. Also, as expected, opening greater than 90 degrees. So we'll close up the wastewater tank now, that's it. And we'll put it right back in the machine, and the red light will go back to white. In both the instructions manual as well as the big pamphlet is a QC code that could be used to open up a website that will take you to the App Store for your correct operating system to install the application for this vacuum cleaner. It takes me to the Apple App Store where I see the app, where I'm going to download it now, and then open once completed. I'll allow notifications, they are important for this app, and I already have an account, so I'm just going to log in. At this point, I'll read through and agree to the user agreement and privacy policy, clicking agree, and give permission to find devices on my local network. I'll click agree to the app user experience program. My S8 Pro Ultra has already been detected. We're going to add the Revo now. I'll lift up the device cover to expose the barcode and the Wi-Fi status. Pressing plus in the app, the camera opens up so I could scan that barcode. And once it's detected, the program will instruct me to hold down both buttons on the robot until it says that the Wi-Fi is being reset.
Resetting Wi-Fi.
At that point, I could check the Wi-Fi reset box and hit next. I supply my Wi-Fi credentials and hit next, and then I hit join. I'll speed this up.
Connecting to Wi-Fi. Stand by. Wi-Fi connected.
And I'll press use now. There's another privacy policy to agree to, and the device is installed. It comes up with a dialog on the first run, giving you some notes first, then a question about offline map set to enabled, less collision mode set to enabled, and then information about map saving. Click OK, and then OK. It says there's a voice pack update. I'll ignore that for now and make my way to the menu on the top right, and scroll all the way down to firmware updates. I want to do that first. I'll enable auto update and click update now.
Recharge to at least 20% and keep the robot docked for firmware upgrade.
I'll close the lid to put it back on the dock for firmware upgrade.
Charging.
And now we'll hit try again, and I will speed this process up greatly.
Updating firmware. This may take 5 to 10 minutes. Firmware update complete.
With the update complete, I go back to check out that voice pack, and I see the red dot on the robot voice, and as I scroll through, I don't see anything here. There's no update, so I'm not going to worry about it, and I hit the X and close that out. Just FYI, if you have more than one robot, you could hit the back button and flip between any number of robots you have, and then hit enter to select the one you want to work with. I'll show basic configuration in case you hadn't used the dialog. Clicking the configuration button on the top right, I'll first select Manage Maps and turn map saving on. I'll hit back, select Reactive Obstacle Avoidance. Both are already enabled, so I'll go back. Carpet setting. Everything here looks correct, so I'll go back. Floor cleaning settings. I don't want to select that one, I'll leave it disabled. Dock settings. In my house, I do want to change the duration from 3 hours to 4 hours, given my past experience with these. And next, robot settings, where I'll scroll down to offline map, and then I'll enable it. We're ready to begin testing. Lily teams up with us again to help evaluate this vacuum cleaner, along with the generous donation of her toys to use as obstructions during testing. She's very excited to be a part of today's test and hopes you all enjoy it. When last we recorded an evaluation video for the S8 Pro Ultra, the house was about 30-40% under construction, and now it's down to about 10%, so we have a lot more room to evaluate, but we're going to be using the same areas we used last time and close off the areas we didn't use before. And just as before, we're going to slide this one chair out during cleaning. This room with the shag rug never works for robot vacuum, but I am going to allow the robot vacuum in for the mapping session only. No obstructions will be on the floor during mapping. The quick mapping button is displayed as no map exists. We'll press that now.
Starting mapping.
And as it starts up, it won't need to do anything with the mop because it's just doing a mapping, not a cleaning of any kind. The map is updated as it scans the room live. This means it's not going to have to roll over every square inch of the house to figure out what the map is. It need only look around each room to figure out what's going on. We'll speed this up, watch what happens on the map as it makes its way through the kitchen, exploring these areas, sort of a zigzag motion, but reading all of this information about the room in order to build a map. It's very effective and very quick. Worked its way around the dining room table so quick, didn't have time to talk about it. And we'll speed things up. We could see it running around the back of the house, 3 minutes in, covering 65 square meters. And then right over here, it gets stuck at the shower door where I usually have a virtual wall. So that's about 1.5 minutes. That was my fault. Continuing on, it wraps around and makes its way to the front room that's usually blocked because there's a known area where these Roborocks get caught. And it wraps around, comes back, and then right there, it gets caught, needs help again, loses another 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. But now it's back and has an awkward encounter with the other Roborock, coming around the front and the perimeter on this side of the house until it gets into this corridor it missed.
Mapping complete. Review in app.
And that's it. Mapping is complete. The entire area, 11 minutes, and it's returning home. And the other one did it in about 8 minutes. Considering areas I didn't block cost me about 3 minutes. Took about the same time for the Q Revo to do the mapping as the S8 Pro Ultra, with no obstructions laying in the middle of the room or whatnot. The S8 Pro Ultra had the benefit of having these areas blocked as known areas where it couldn't fit. Since this is just a mapping run, it'll return to the base station without servicing the mop.
Charging.
We're informed the map has been saved, and we're told about options to further edit it. Let's do some now. Clicking on the edit icon just under that cube, I click on No-Go Zone on the bottom left, and then I click OK. Zooming in onto the entrance area of that room, I click on Invisible Wall, rotating that wall and bringing it into position. When I'm satisfied, I click the checkbox on the top right corner, updating the map. Then I add my second one using the same technique. Those walls should be sufficient for further testing. Automatic room discovery is hit and miss. We're going to open up Manage Maps and hit Edit Room now to edit rooms. Clicking OK on the first run. Initially I'm fiddling with Merge and Divide, trying to separate these rooms, working with the initial rooms they gave me, and I'm getting a lot of errors. Eventually I realize it's just best to merge the whole house into one room and start from the beginning, and you can see everything starts working fine once I do that. About 10 minutes later, we have logically organized rooms with dividers. I didn't name them all, this is just a test. And we're going to go and switch our map now to 3D and have a look and see how everything turned out. We can see our dividers. I'll be adding one more for a test to block the rest of the house and make our test area. But the backdoor divider is right over there. And we can see what the last run of the vacuum cleaner was, showing its tracks, exactly what it did. And there's our block for the front room. And there's our block for the shower door. So the 3D map is pretty cool. There's also a matrix map. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on all the map functionality. It deserves its own video. But there's our map all set up, ready to go for the actual run. A quick look at options before we hit clean. We press that button now. And we can see that the default settings are somewhat conservative. Suction is set for quiet. We can see there's balance, turbo, and max. Water is set to low and could go to medium or high or custom. We'll try out our water on medium and we'll set our suction to balanced. Okay, that should be good. I press the clean button on the bottom left to kick things off, and immediately it starts preparing the mop.
Starting to clean.
On this model, it charges and cleans in the same direction, so it doesn't have to spin the entire unit around to do so. I'm speeding this mop cleaning and preparation up. I'm not going to make everybody sit through it.
Mop washed. Resuming cleaning.
As this runs, we could follow along with the map on the bottom right. I'll speed up a lot of this, slowing down on noteworthy sections to discuss it. As usual with a Roborock, it's going to start off with the perimeter of whatever room the base station's in. We could see that the mop is starting wet because it's pre-prepared by the base station, dry mop being a problem on lower end Roborocks. And right here we can see it wasn't able to identify the tire as an obstacle and got stuck on it. Took a couple of tries with the tire swinging to finally shake loose from it, making its way forward, and continues, only to be caught on the tire of the next bicycle soon thereafter. A lot more use of the bumper on this model than that of the S8 Pro Ultra, given to the amount of sensors that are on here as compared to the higher end models. But now it's starting its zigzag, having finished the perimeter, and it's zigzagging on this carpet. You'll notice it sort of stops for a second as it approaches the carpet. And what's actually happening, if we take a look, slow it down, it's turning towards the carpet, detecting it, stopping, backing up, raising the mop, shutting it off, and now it's doing the carpet cleaning, increasing the amount of suction while it does the carpet cleaning, turning around, making its way off of the carpet, and as it makes its way off the carpet, it lowers the suction, drops the mop heads, turns them back on. You can see on the map that carpet is a different color completed than floor is, and next time it will know where the carpets are located. Right now it's actually discovering it as it goes along, making the second run more efficient than the first. And it's now finished this room, making its way into the next room, where again it will do the outer perimeter of the room. And I'm wondering why it's skipping the front hallway, going right to this corner where it's acting strange. Maybe I thought it was Lily at the time, and then I realized a piece of the map as I had written the room, this tiny corner I had made part of the front hallway, was my error. So I'm not counting that as part of the test. That was my mistake. So now it's going to continue in the front hallway, starting with the perimeter first, making its way around. And once that perimeter is completed, it will do a zigzag motion, shoring up the rest of that hallway. Making its way to the front room, it will only clean up to the invisible wall that we see in the map on the lower right side. And it's onward to the perimeter of the next room. I left part of a cable dangling out of a box to see what would happen. And that is all I needed to know. That is my first and last cable test with this device. All cables will be secured. The legs of Lily's table here could be iffy, but it seems to have navigated it without any incident. But this button right here, it's just pushing it along like a hockey puck. I had to lift it up and get it out of the way. And then right over here, we hit our 15-minute mark of actual mopping. It'll now return to the base station to clean the mop and refill the unit.
Starting to wash the mop.
Try as I might, there's nothing I can see with regard to actual mop cleaning. I can only hear all the weird noises. We'll resume when mop cleaning's done.
Mop washed. Resuming cleaning.
It'll then take itself to the exact point which it had stopped and continue onward. Speeding through on the enlarged map until we hit a point of interest. I've tied up this electrical cable partially, and that did not seem to bother the robot too much, but I wouldn't leave one slack on the floor. We've made it out from under the furniture intact. And we get a nice view here of the floor just mopped, no streaks. Everything here looks nice and clean, no complaints. Here riding on the edge of the carpet, it can't detect it and doesn't retract the mop heads. Most of the time it is correctly detected and lifted high enough that the mop heads do not touch an average sized carpet. Making our way towards Desmond, we could see that he was in fact detected. As the robot is reacting and working its way around him, our inspector is watching and meets approval. A notation for Desmond appeared in the map. It seems to me that this robot does not have enough sensors to get in between the chair legs. It just deems it too narrow for it to fit. So instead we see he's just hugging the corners, doing the perimeter of the dining room table, and then finishing up this area. This should have been divided into 2 rooms. We see from the zigzag, as it makes its way to the end, there's still going to be more work to do back at the end of the dining room area. As expected, it finishes up these areas and makes a beeline back to these areas to finish up these spots. Again, this should have been sectioned off as 2 separate rooms, and we could see how not dividing the rooms properly could introduce inefficiencies. I stopped here because we get a good view of the mopping action under sunlight, so we could see those spinners spinning, mopping this section, and as the robot moves away, we could take a look at a freshly mopped floor, vacuumed, all hair, dirt, and debris removed, and the floor is nice and clean. So it definitely does the job for a daily casual mop. Again, running 1 cap full of OMO for 4 liters, we could see no residue when it dries. This floor tile's nice and clean with no streaks. We finish up this little area blocked for construction and make our way into the kitchen, where we'll stop right here to take a look at a bunch of dust and dirt picked up in 1 sweep and then mopped over. Flawless execution. Continuing onward, wrapping around the perimeter of the kitchen, I put a piece of dirt right here to see if it would grab it, and sure enough it did, but just at this moment it corners the refrigerator and
Going to wash the mop.
so we're going back to clean the mop. And most importantly, up until now, our inspector still meets with approval. Continuing ahead, after mop washing, the mop goes to where it had left off. We try our Cheerio test and it shoots it right out. Cheerio test was a failure. Now we'll do our fast sweep of the kitchen with a single obstruction. It actually bumped it right there, didn't even see it. Now it detected it, and it's still moving it, but it's going around it. So the sensors kind of work, and they kind of don't at the same time. Again, not $1,600, $800. It's moving it as it's detecting it. If this was something Lily left behind instead of one of her toys, this could be a messy event, so it's definitely not that kind of sensor. But it will detect it such that it'll treat it as a general object now, and it'll go around it, working through the kitchen. It does slow it down though, how one object can slow it down so much. So having stuff off the floor away from where the robot will clean will definitely speed up things. That said, this model definitely shines where there's no clutter. And I thought we were done here. I thought the kitchen was the last room, so I'm a little surprised, and now I'm following on. I'm like, where are you going? Come back. Even Lily's like, where are you? What are you doing? Come back. And now he's just banging his head against the wall, and I'm wondering what's going on here, and I'm going to have a look. I see here another room divided made in haste, causing some problems. I'm going to have to clean this up.
Finished cleaning. Returning to dock.
Eventually he figured it out though, so time to go home.
Target. Emptying dustbin.
Dustbin emptying is extremely loud. I've lowered the volume. Although somebody finds it very exciting.
Starting to wash the mop.
Let's check out the results for this run. 46 square meters in 54 minutes with 4 mop washes. It's not bad, but we had some waste and inefficiency due to some mistakes in the way the rooms were drawn out, as well as inefficiencies due to lack of room dividers where needed. Comparing that to the efficiency increase after corrections were made, the same exact coverage in only 46 minutes, 8 minutes less for the same task, or a 14.81% efficiency increase. Running on a 4-hour dry time, the pads were perfectly dry upon inspection, no trouble at all. I might try 3 hours and see what happens. After several uses, we could see that the mop heads are still perfectly clean, as if they had just come out of the box. The mop cleaner is doing a good job. Checking the brush area, I didn't find any obstructions, but I didn't hear any noises either. This is a daily cleaning unit. It's not there to vacuum up large items or large chunks of things, so we don't expect it to. I checked the filter container right quick, make sure that's emptying properly, just having a quick look, and that basket is empty, which means that it is emptying properly. The dirty water isn't reporting full yet, but we'll drain it anyway. Going out to the garage, I open up the cover, we'll pour it into the sink, and I've remopped the floor several times for testing since the first mopping, so this dirty water is somewhat diluted, so it doesn't look that dirty, but it did pick up dirt, so it is working. And for the daily mopping and vacuuming of the floor, it's doing a great job. It does exactly what it's supposed to, and it does it well, with all the conveniences intact. Dust cleaning, mop washing, mop head lifting, as we see, and does a decent job on the carpets. It's not for cleaning up large-scale messes, mopping up glasses of grape juice that falls on the floor, or vacuuming up an entire encyclopedia set. This is just for daily cleaning. For $800 less than the S8 Pro Ultra, you're going to get detection, but it's not awesome. It's not going to be something that's going to mitigate like dog poop problems. You're going to be left with a mess. So if you're looking for something that does that, this is not the one. It'll detect clutter, but won't deal with it as well as the high-end ones, and definitely won't deal well with wires. If you have a house with a lot of pets and a lot of stuff all over the floor, this may not be the model for you. Maybe you want the S8. At the end of the day, if you're not looking for the high-end AI or object recognition, for the price, you're getting a hell of a lot of vacuum cleaner. And that concludes this video of the unboxing, evaluation, testing, and analysis of the Roborock Q Revo. I hope you found this video enjoyable, entertaining, and informative. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below, helps me out a lot when you do, and hit that subscribe button for more videos like this when they come out. When the next video comes out in the series, a link will be posted in the top right corner. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Would you like to reply?
Okay, here you go. Come.